Hi, and welcome to the Students First Office presentation for new exploratory majors at UNCG. My name is Angie Allred, and I'm one of the exploratory majors academic advisors in the office, and I'll be your guide for the presentation today. Exploratory majors are probably more commonly known as undecided or undeclared, but we use the term exploratory, which I'll explain more in just a bit. On behalf of the office, we're excited to give you some information as you start at the G. All right, I'm going to give you a quick summary of our agenda for the presentation and then we'll dive right in. First, I'll give you an introduction of the Students First Office and the services we provide. Second, I'll get you to start thinking a little bit more about what it means to be an exploratory major. Next, I'll provide you with some details about our exploratory advising model. I'll talk with you about strategies for how you can explore. Then I'll explain UNCG's General Education Core, or GEC. Next, I'll cover some important information about course registration and advising and registration appointments. And finally, I'll wrap up with our contact information in case you would like to get in touch with us following the viewing of this presentation. As you can see on the screen here, we have a much larger staff at work for all exploratory students. One of the advisors on the screen will be your assigned academic advisor in the spring, and everyone on the screen will be available to help you as you arrive on campus in the spring too. So first and foremost, the Students First Office is the centralized academic advising center for all exploratory majors. I'll get into much more detail about how advising works and what you can expect in just a minute. Additionally, we provide supplemental advising to students in declared majors, which means that after you all declare your majors, you can always come back and see us for additional advising support. We also provide support for students when they encounter challenges, which can be anything from schedule adjustment to when life happens outside your control and your grades may not be what you hoped to earn. Finally, we help students get connected to campus resources to help in their academic success and personal wellness. All right, so let's talk more about entering college as exploratory majors. I'm going to present two questions and ask that you take a minute or so to reflect on your answers. Maybe even pause the presentation and write them down. First, why did you choose to enter college as exploratory? Second, what does it mean to you to be an exploratory major? I'd encourage you to hang on to your answers about why you've made the choice to enter college as exploratory. Your answers might include things like to give yourself some extra time to really get to know yourself, what your major options actually are, or what your career opportunities or goals might look like before committing to a major. We may be biased, but the advisors in the Students First Office wholeheartedly believe that you're making a great choice. So let's talk a little bit more about what it means to be exploratory. The Students First Office defines exploratory as an active process that requires students' participation. This could include things like attending events on campus, talking with faculty members about their department, meeting with other students in majors that you're interested in, taking online career and personality assessments, or career shadowing a professional in the field that you're interested in. Exploration should be purposeful. Your exploration should be tailored to you to help you answer the questions about majors and careers that you have. Looking, learning, trying new things, it's exactly what it sounds like, exploring. This is what we're asking of you, to be actively engaged with your advisor and trust our expertise as we work together to help you make your way towards major declaration. One thing we like to point out is that there is a very wide spectrum of exploratory majors. Many students have not eliminated any majors from consideration yet and are over here on the left side of this spectrum. Other students fall on the other end of this spectrum and have already narrowed down their major options to 2 to 3 and are just wanting to learn a little bit more before declaring their major. We want to emphasize that regardless of where you fall on the exploratory spectrum, there's no need to stress. Our role as your advisor is to support and guide you through your exploration to ultimately select the major that is the best fit for you. We want you to be intentionally exploring your options from day one at UNC Greensboro. There are some checkpoints for declaration to keep in mind along the way. 30 credit hours earned. The typical first-year student will reach this checkpoint at the end of their first academic year, and we think it's ideal to declare your major by then. If you're a transfer student, don't worry if you've already reached this checkpoint, because the next checkpoint is 45 credit hours earned. For first-time freshmen, this usually occurs at the end of your third semester. This time frame helps ensure that you don't run out of GEC requirements before you've selected a major. 60 credit hours earned. The university requires that you declare your major by the time you have earned 60 semester hours or have reached junior standing. As previously mentioned, transfer credit, AP, or IB credit could mean that you have an abbreviated time to be exploratory. Rest assured, we will make sure you know your own timeline so it doesn't come as a surprise when it's time to declare major. One concern or misconception that we hear all the time is that students and/or parents are concerned that they're wasting time and money being exploratory. We really want to emphasize that exploring your options is not a waste of time at all because of UNCG's very well designed General Education Core, or GEC, as you'll hear us reference moving forward. You'll still be taking courses to satisfy your degree requirements regardless of what major you ultimately decide on, while still simultaneously exploring academic areas of interest. So what's so great about being exploratory? Again, we're probably biased, but we think there are many benefits to entering UNCG as exploratory majors, and we want to explain our rationale to you so you feel as good about being exploratory as we do. First, our advising model allows for significantly more face time with your academic advisor than most other majors at the university. We require 2 meetings per semester that are 45 minutes each in length. This kind of time is a hot commodity on campus when you compare it to other models that may allow for 1 meeting per semester that may be as short as 20 minutes in duration. We have a lower advisor to student ratio than many other units on campus, which allows our model to function in this way. We're also available for additional appointments should our advisees feel that they want or need them. Second, as we mentioned earlier, SFO will advise any undergraduate student at the university, which means that even after we've worked together, you found your best fit major, you've declared and are super excited about your future plans, you can come back to your old advisor in the student's first office for any additional support that you need. We work really hard in the student's first office to make ourselves as available as possible to our students. We have plenty of calendar availability for our exploratory students and offer advising assistance on a drop-in basis every Monday through Friday. The advisors in the student's first office are trained generalists, so we know about the requirements of every major at the university. This allows us to guide students through very strategic, individualized course selection based on major interest. This ensures that students are selecting the best possible courses based on the majors they're currently interested in. By choosing to be exploratory, you're giving yourself some dedicated time to explore interests and then commit to an academic path. This prevents students from working toward a major, realizing it's not a good fit, then switching their major and realizing they've accumulated electives that they do not need for their new major. SFO uses a method of academic advising known as appreciative advising. This method focuses on a student's strengths and how those strengths can be leveraged to promote academic success and find the best fit major. This approach is the foundation for the way we work with students. I'm going to summarize our advising model for you now so you have a good idea about what to expect from your experience with your academic advisor. As I've just mentioned, we function on a 2-meeting model where students are required to meet with their academic advisor twice per term for 45 minutes each time. This is a little different from other advising centers on campus and is helpful for developing a great relationship with your advisor. Once the spring 2021 term is underway, you'll receive emails from your assigned advisor prompting you to schedule your advising appointment. Please note that all exploratory advising appointments will be held virtually in the spring 2021 term. We have an online scheduling software called Starfish that students will use to schedule appointments. You can just hop online, view your advisor's availability, and schedule for an appointment that works with your schedule. The first meeting of the semester is called Exploratory Planning. It occurs in the first 6 weeks of the semester, and that's when we begin to get to know you and develop a rapport. We'll learn about your interests, strengths, and skills, check in on your transition to college and academic performance so far, identify any resources that can support you. We'll teach you the 3 advising tools that will help you learn things like searching for classes and identifying degree requirements, and develop a plan to help you explore your major options. The second meeting is called the Registration Advising Meeting. This meeting occurs in the second half of the semester after fall or spring break. In this meeting, we do some GPA projection to help students understand where their GPA may end up at the end of the semester. We'll reinforce the importance of utilizing campus resources to help achieve goals. We will review your major interests and check in on the exploration plan that you created in your exploratory planning appointment and any changes or new thoughts on majors. And then finally, what students are generally most excited about is developing their schedule for the next term. How can you explore? UNCG's General Education Core or GEC requirements are a great way for you to explore academic area of interest. I'll explain in more detail in just a few minutes. Career and professional development is one of our most valuable campus partners, and they have a lot of great resources for our exploratory majors to use. We want you to be intentional and participatory in developing an exploratory action plan with your assigned advisor. We need your input in order for you to help make a plan that is realistic for you. Meta majors is a strategy we've implemented to help students see and understand the connections and overlaps between majors that may not sound super related, but that have some common foundational components. I'll expand on this and show you what I'm talking about in just a few minutes. We've included this graphic to show you how meta majors, majors, and concentrations relate to each other. Let's start with meta majors. A meta major is a collection of majors and concentrations that are complementary or relate to each other in some way. For example, if you don't know what you want to major in, but you know you enjoy health and wellness, that meta major is a good place to start investigating major opportunities. These are intended to help exploratory majors explore and select a degree path based on their interest, knowledge, skills, and abilities. Here are some of the existing meta majors. Again, these are intended to help you narrow your focus on major exploration. Let's say, for example, you know you love fields of study related to being artistic and creative. You may want to consider looking at the majors under Arts, Humanities, and Creative Studies. You may find that there are related majors within that meta major that you hadn't considered before or have even been aware of. A major is your primary field of study. It's where you'll pursue a significant portion of your coursework and will be what your degree will show at the end of your time here. As we've mentioned earlier, A major doesn't have to equal your future career, but it's the academic discipline that you commit to. Typically, between a third and a half of the courses you take in college are in your major or related to it. By completing a major, you've demonstrated sustained high-level work in one subject. A concentration is a structured plan of study within a major. Not every major has concentrations or requires students to choose one. For example, you could be a sociology major, or you could choose the optional concentration in criminology, which would require specific courses focused on law, crime, and deviance. Nutrition majors must choose one of 3 concentrations: nutrition science, human dietetics and nutrition, or nutrition and wellness, all of which have different course requirements. Let's talk more about how General Education Core, or GEC as we commonly refer to it, and how this will help you explore by looking at the GEC Summary Sheet, which you see pictured here. UNCG wants you to be well-rounded students who have knowledge and can speak on a lot of different topics. It's important to have multiple lenses and experiences to give you breadth as well as depth to your learning, as well as developed critical thinking skills as you go out into the professional world after graduation. You'll get to dip your toes in many different types of fields of study, which can also help with major exploration. Before I get started explaining each requirement to you, I want to point out a couple of things first about GEC. This is a list of bare minimum requirements that will be required of every student. There are 8 categories in total. Based on what major you declare, you may find that there are additional general education courses added on. Second, there is no need to complete everything on this chart in the first semester here. In fact, it's usually impossible to do so unless you're coming in with a lot of credit. These requirements just need to be completed by the time you graduate. You'll find this GEC Summary Sheet included in your resources for your Students First Office module. Let's zoom in on the categories themselves. I'll be explaining the number of courses required in each category, but it's important to remember that this is referring to the number of courses required in each category in order to graduate. Remember that it is close to impossible to complete all of GEC in one semester unless you're coming with a significant amount of credit. The first category is Fine Arts, which we refer to as GFA. Generally speaking, classes in this category teach an appreciation of an art versus the creation of an art. Each student needs at least one of these. Examples of classes in this category include things like art appreciation, dance appreciation, and film appreciation. The second category is literature, which we refer to as GLT. Courses in this category will focus on reading, interpreting, and analyzing various kinds of literature. Each student needs at least one of these. Examples of courses in this category include Intro to Poetry, Intro to Narrative, and Mythology. The third category is quite a mouthful: Philosophical, Religious, and Ethical Perspectives, or GPR for short. This category includes courses that require you to think deeply on a broad range of subjects. Each student needs at least one of these. Examples of courses in this category include Exploring Political Issues, Intro to Religious Studies, and Contemporary Moral Problems. The fourth category is Historical Perspectives, or GHP. This category includes courses about a broad range of histories and civilizations. Each student needs at least one of these. Examples of courses in this category include U.S. History, World History, Intro to African American Studies, and Greek Civilization. The fifth category is Mathematics, which we refer to as GMT. Each student needs at least one of these. Examples of courses in this category include College Algebra, Pre-Calculus, Intro to Probability and Statistics. And this is the first category that we've gotten to where, depending on the major you're considering, Our advisors may encourage you to hold off on taking your GMT in your first semester. Some majors require very specific math courses, and we don't want to put you in a position where you would have to take a second math course because the first course you took won't satisfy your major requirements. The sixth category is Natural Sciences, or GNS. Each student needs at least 2 GNS courses, one of which must include a laboratory, which is a class that meets separately from lecture and allows for practical application of what you learned in your lecture class. Examples of courses in this category include Earth Science, Principles of Biology, Intro to Chemistry, and Nutrition. The seventh category is Reasoning and Discourse, or GRD. These courses are designed to teach students to communicate effectively, how to reason, and how to think critically. Each student needs to take at least 2 courses in this category. One of the 2 GRD courses you must take is English 101, which is UNCG's college writing course. The second GRD may be something like Communication Studies, Information Use in a Digital World, or Intro to Formal Logic. The 8th and final category is Social Behavioral Sciences, or GSB. Each student is required to take at least 2 courses from the GSB category. Examples of courses in this category include General Psychology, Intro to Sociology, Economics, and Human Development. If the categories I just summarized sound familiar, that may be because you saw them when you completed the Academic Advising Inventory. Before you registered for SOAR, we gathered information about your preferences. In addition to the 8 categories I just reviewed, our GEC includes 4 different kinds of markers. Markers are just an indication that a course has an additional focus. We won't go into too much depth about these because we won't focus on markers in your first semester, but we do want you to know that they exist. The 4 markers include GL and GN markers, global and global non-Western perspectives, which indicate an international or global focus in a course. SI markers, which stand for speaking intensive, and WI markers, which are writing intensive. You will be invited to virtually meet with an academic advisor in our office to get you registered for spring 2021 courses. Be sure to check your UNCG email for information about how to schedule this appointment. This email will come from students@uncg.edu. During this meeting, you will discuss your interest and major under consideration, review any transfer credit you expect to bring to UNCG, register for spring 2021 classes, and receive your advising code, which will allow you to make changes in your schedule later on. You'll also find these resources in your Students First Office Canvas module. The GEC Summary Sheet, which you saw on a previous slide that outlines the 8 GEC categories and 4 GEC markers. The Course Prefix Guide, which will help you understand the abbreviations for each UNCG department, such as ENG is the abbreviation for a course in the English department. AP and IB credit sheets. These charts show what you could receive credit for at UNCG based on AP or IB exams you took. The TES link that will take you to a part of the UNCG website called the Transfer Equivalency Search. If you took courses at a community college or another university, you can search for the UNCG class that you may receive credit for. Instructions for registration. This step-by-step sheet will help you walk through the steps in UNC Genie to make changes to your spring 2021 schedule, click by click. The UNCG Building Abbreviation Guide. This guide will help you determine the buildings that your classes are in. Once you have registered for spring 2021, you'll see abbreviations like SOEB on your schedule, which stands for School of Education Building, where that class meets. and the campus map, which you'll use to get a sense of the distance between your classes. You may be wondering about foreign language or notice that I didn't mention it when talking about GEC. That's because not all majors require a foreign language. If you indicated a strong preference for majors that require foreign language, the exploratory majors academic advisor you meet with for your advising appointment will talk you through the details that you may need to know. We often recommend to our exploratory students that they wait to take a math course until they've narrowed down their major choices to only a few. However, if you indicated a strong preference for majors that require calculus, math 191, your advisor will talk with you about taking the Calculus Readiness Diagnostic Test. Thank you for joining me today to learn more about being an exploratory major at UNCG. We're excited you're joining us as a Spartan this spring. In the meantime, you can follow us on all these social media platforms, which are a great way to get important advising information, including reminders of withdrawal dates and drop-in availability. Have a great day!